Hi everyone, hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're diving into an emotional family story in a small village where one ordinary school pickup turns into every parent's worst nightmare. Their little girl suddenly disappears and a peaceful day explodes into panic. Just when all hope seems lost, a single phone call changes everything and leads to a powerful reminder of what truly matters, more than houses, money or pressure. Will this family learn to cherish what they almost lost for good? Stick around to find out. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next videos. Soft morning light spills into a tiny roadside eatery where pots of broth, steam and motorbikes hum past the dusty road. At a wobbly table, James and two Diep sit with their little girl, Nee. James leans toward the vendor. Boss, chokon bei mot, tofu ga eat han hei, he says, then turns back with a grin. Chicken noodles, sweetie. Want some? Actually, make that 2 bowls. You must be starving. Nai nods eagerly. James reaches over and smooths her hair. Across from them, Diep watches, smiling. She still looks a little tired after her recent illness, but right now she's glowing. Eat your breakfast first, she teases, nudging James. Then we'll take you to school. If you keep staring at her like that, your noodles will go cold. James laughs. I could stare at her forever and never get bored. Me too, she says quietly. The vendor sets down 2 steaming bowls. James pulls Nee's bowl closer, blowing on the broth. Okay, princess, careful, try a little first. Nee clumsily grabs the chopsticks with both hands. Mum, this bowl is all mine, okay? She announces. Of course, Diep says, but you have to finish it. Nee is eating so well today. That's my big girl. The 3 of them lean over the table, James sneaking glances at his wife, Nee slurping noodles. Outside, vendors shout and cars honk, but inside this tiny stall, time slows. A soft voiceover slips in. Sometimes the happiest moments are the quietest ones, the narrator says. A cheap bowl of noodles, a small family, and the feeling that maybe everything will be okay. James's hand reaches across the table, brushing against Diep's. She squeezes back. For a second, they forget about the half-built house at the edge of town and the loans waiting at the bank. Then, reality returns. We should go soon, Diep says. If we're late again, the teacher will stare holes through me. Okay, James checks the time. Nai, last bite, then we head out. Deal? Nai stuffs one last mouthful into her tiny mouth and raises her hand. Deal. Cut to, outside the school gate. The sun is brighter. James lifts Nai up, spinning her once before setting her down. Diep crouches to her height, cupping her cheeks. Okay, eyes closed, she says playfully. Nee squeezes her eyes shut. Diep gently covers them. No peeking. When you open your eyes, you'll already be having fun in class, okay? Nee giggles. Okay. Bye-bye, baby, Diep sings. Have fun at school. If anyone bullies you, tell the teacher first, then tell Mum. Got it? Got it, Nee chirps. She opens her eyes, waves dramatically, then skips through the gate, school bag bouncing. The camera follows her for a few steps, then cuts back to James and Diep, their fingers naturally laced together. She's growing so fast, James murmurs. You're the one who keeps talking about her big bed at the new house, Diep says. You said once the house is done, she's not allowed to sleep with us anymore. James looks off in the direction of their unfinished home. The house, the company, a whole new start, he says. We just have to hold on a little longer. For a moment, worry crosses Diep's face. Just don't push yourself too hard, she says. You know my health isn't fully back yet. James squeezes her hand. We'll be okay, he says simply. Cut. Afternoon. The same school gate, the light harsher now. Parents gather, kids run out in groups, shouting and laughing. James and Diep hurry into frame, slightly out of breath. The kid must be waiting, Diep pants. Run faster, honey, she hates waiting by herself. I told you we should have left the construction site earlier, James says. If I didn't argue about those kitchen tiles, we'd regret it, she answers. They reach the gate and stop, scanning the crowd. Children rush past until the stream thins. A few stragglers are claimed by their parents. Then the yard is almost empty. No Nai. James frowns. Maybe she's still inside. Then why are all the other kids out already? There's a tremor in Diep's voice now. She steps closer to the gate, stretching on tiptoe. "Nai," she calls. "Nai, sweetheart. Mum's here." Only the echo of her voice answers. James moves along the fence, eyes searching every corner. "Nai," he calls. "It's Dad. Where are you, baby?" The camera follows him handheld, every step adding to the tension. Diep's heartbeat pounds in her ears. "Could someone have taken her?" she whispers, grabbing his arm. "What if she was kidnapped? Why is she nowhere? What do we do?" "Calm down," James says automatically, but the panic in his eyes betrays him. "Maybe the teacher took her somewhere. We'll ask." They push through the gate. Inside, the schoolyard is almost empty. A cleaner sweeps fallen leaves. A few teachers stand talking near the doorway. "Ko-oi," James calls. "Do you know where our daughter is? Her name is Ni, Class 1B. We're here to pick her up, but we don't see her." One teacher frowns. "Most students left already," she says. "Maybe a relative picked her up. We didn't get any notice." The words hit like a punch. "A relative?" Diep repeats. No one told us anything. No one should pick her up except us." The teacher's expression shifts from confusion to worry. "Let me check with the homeroom teacher." She disappears into the hallway. James and Diep stand there, the camera lingering on their faces. Tense jaws, clenched hands, eyes on the doorway. A simple line of voiceover slips in. In the morning, they were sure they had everything under control, the narrator says. A few late minutes are all it takes for confidence to turn into fear. The teacher returns, shaking her head. "I checked the classroom," she says. "She's not there. The other children said she went home already." "She didn't go home," James says firmly. "We came straight from work." The ground seems to tilt under Diep's feet. Her eyes glaze with tears. "We were late," she chokes. "If something happened during that time, if we'd just gotten here earlier..." James pulls her into his arms. "Don't go there," he says, voice low. "We'll find her. We have to." They stand in the middle of the nearly empty yard. The camera pulls back slowly, making them look small as their shadows stretch long across the concrete. "Nay!" James shouts again, louder. "Baby, answer Dad, please!" Silence. Only the faint sound of traffic beyond the walls. The camera moves in on Diep's pale, trembling face. Then, cutting through the heavy air, a ringtone explodes. James looks down at his buzzing phone. The screen lights up in his hand. Incoming call. "Mum." James hesitates for half a second, then swipes to answer. "Mum?" His voice cracks. "Have you seen Nai? She's not at school, On the other end, his mother's voice bursts out, cheerful and loud. "Why are you shouting like the sky's falling?" she scolds lightly. "I already picked up Ni. We're at the store buying those red-purple lollipops she likes. Oh, and I grabbed a mattress for the new house too." For a beat, James says nothing. The world seems to snap back into focus. "You... what?" he finally manages. Beside him, Diep stares, eyes wide. "I said I picked up my granddaughter," his mum repeats. "Teacher saw me and let her go. You two are always so busy. I thought I'd help. Now we're at the furniture shop. This purple mattress looks nice. She says it's for her princess bed." James exhales so hard his shoulders sag. He presses a hand over his face, laughs sobbing. "Mum, you almost scared us to death," he groans. "Next time, call first, okay?" "What's there to be scared of?" she says. "Your daughter is eating candy and picking a bed. Come here if you're so worried. We're at the big store by the main road." He hangs up and grabs Diep's shoulders. "She's with Mum," he says quickly. "They went to buy candy and a mattress. She's okay. She's okay." The words hit like fresh air after drowning. Tears spill down Diep's cheeks before she can stop them. "She's okay?" she repeats, voice shaking. "Really?" James nods, pulling her into a tight hug. "She's fine," he whispers into her hair. "Let's go get our little troublemaker." Cut. The scene jumps to a bustling home goods store. Mattresses lean against the walls, bright pillows piled high, neon lights buzz overhead. In the middle of the chaos stands Ni, clutching a huge red-purple lollipop in one hand. and pointing proudly at a mattress wrapped in plastic, a soft purple one with little stars. "Grandma, I want this one," she announces. "This one is for my new room." James and Diep burst into frame, slightly out of breath. They spot her instantly. "Nye!" they shout in unison. She turns, eyes lighting up. "Mom! Dad!" Before anyone else can react, Diep sprints over, drops to her knees, and wraps Nye in a desperate hug. The lollipop smears a bit on her sleeve, but she doesn't care. "You scared Mum so much," she cries, voice breaking. "Do you know that? I thought... Nye blinks, confused. "But I was with Grandma," she says honestly. "I wasn't lost." James's mum steps forward from behind a stack of pillows, hands on her hips. "See," she says, "I told you she's fine. You two look like you just ran out of a disaster movie. I just wanted to help and give her a treat." James lets out a shaky laugh. "Next time, warn us, okay?" he says. My heart nearly stopped. "Now you know how I feel watching you run construction, work at the company, and still try to be super dad," she snaps back. Though her voice is gentle, everyone's heart is working overtime. The salesman approaches, holding a little paper. "So this mattress for the little one," he says. "Purple, queen size. Total is 615,000 VND. James's mum digs into her purse. "I'll pay," she says. "This is my gift for their new house." James quickly reaches out. "No, Mom, let me." She glares. "You can pay for the walls and roof. Let me at least buy my granddaughter something soft to sleep on." Nye pipes up, hugging the mattress's plastic edge. "I love it," she says. "I'll sleep on it and have princess dreams." The salesman smiles, tapping the paper. "Then let's get this beauty to your new home." Cut. Outside, James hoists the mattress onto the roof rack of their old car, securing it with rope. Dust from the roadside floats in the late afternoon light. Nye stands beside him, licking her lollipop, watching with wide eyes as if he's performing magic. "Dad's strong," she declares. "No, Dad's just scared of Mum now," James jokes. "If I break your mattress, both of you will scold me." Diep stands a few steps away, finally breathing normally, watching them. Her mother-in-law comes to her side. "Don't hold everything inside, okay?" the older woman says quietly. "You have me, you have James. You're not alone." Diep nods, wiping the corners of her eyes. "When we didn't see her at school," she trails off, shaking her head. "I thought the worst." "That's because you love her too much," her mother-in-law says. "But love also needs trust. If something feels wrong, scream. If something feels okay, let yourself breathe." She pats Diep's hand. "Come on, let's go see this famous half-built house I keep hearing about." Cut. The car pulls up at the edge of a quiet plot of land. The house is still mostly rough concrete. Walls up, but no paint, no windows yet. Scaffolding leans against one side. A pile of sand and bricks sits in the front yard. To anyone else, it's just an unfinished construction site. To them, it's their future. James lifts the mattress off the car with a grunt. Nye runs ahead, jumping over little puddles and stray planks. "Careful!" 3 adults shout at once. She stops, makes a silly face, then tiptoes dramatically onto the bare cement floor. "Welcome to my house," she announces, arms wide. They all laugh. Inside, the open space echoes their footsteps. Iron bars stick out from the ceiling. Sunlight pours through the gaps where windows will be. Dust particles float, glowing. "This will be the living room," James says, pointing. "Sofa here, TV there, Nye's toys everywhere." "And this," Diep adds, walking to an empty corner, eyes shining. "This will be the kitchen. Stove here, sink here. We'll put a small table under that window so I can watch you two in the yard while I cook." She glances at James, something soft in her expression. "And on rainy days you'll complain the whole place smells like fish sauce," she teases. Grins. "As long as it smells like you're still here, I'm okay with that." James's mum spreads her arms, imagining invisible walls. "And in that room," she says, nodding toward a doorway, "is where I'll come to stay when I'm old and bored at home." "Deal," James says. "But first, princess room." They all move toward the smaller room at the back. The walls are bare concrete, the floor rough, but The light coming in feels softer here. James drops the mattress down with a satisfying thud right in the middle. There, he says, first official piece of furniture in the house. Nee climbs up, even though it's still wrapped in plastic. She flops onto her back, her tiny shoes squeaking. I love it, she shouts, legs kicking. This is my bed. I'm not scared here at all. She looks around, then back at her parents. Mum, Dad, when we move in, can we all sleep here the first night together? Diep steps closer, brushing a strand of hair away from Nee's face. Of course, she says softly. The first night we all stay together. James sits down on the edge of the mattress, looking around with new eyes. A voiceover drifts in over the scene. A few hours ago, this half-built house was just a source of pressure, the narrator says. Another loan, another responsibility, another deadline. But almost losing what mattered most changed everything. Cut to close-up. James watching Nye roll across the mattress, Diep leaning against the doorway, one hand on her chest. His mother wiping imaginary dust off the wall, already claiming the space. Suddenly, the cracks in the walls don't matter as much, the voice continues. The stress, the unfinished floors, the missing doors, all of it feels smaller compared to the simple fact that their daughter is here, laughing, asking for one more bedtime story in a room that doesn't even have paint yet. James reaches for Diep's hand, their fingers intertwine. We'll finish this, he says quietly. The house, the company, all of it. But we do it for this. He nods toward Nee, not the other way round. She nods, tears shining again, but this time they're soft, grateful. Earlier, I kept thinking about what I regret, she admits. Being late, being sick, slowing you down. Now, I only regret one thing. What's that? He asks. That I let myself get so busy I forgot to feel this lucky, she says. The camera pulls back, showing all four of them gathered around the purple mattress in the middle of the raw concrete room. An unfinished box of a house holding something complete and solid. Family. Dust floats in the sunset light like released tension. Nee sits up, waving her sticky lollipop. Take a picture, she insists. This is my first bed in my first house. James laughs, fishing his phone from his pocket. Okay, he says. Everybody squeeze in, say, home. They crowd in, laughter overlapping. Home, they shout. Flash. The screen freezes on that moment, the messy, imperfect, priceless snapshot. The voiceover fades out on one final line. From terror to relief, from regret to gratitude. Sometimes life doesn't give you a new beginning. It just reminds you how precious the one you already have is.
James và Tử Diệp. Một buổi sáng ấm áp tại một quán ăn bên đường, cô với con gái nhỏ Nhi trước khi đến trường, thưởng thức những tô mì và khoảnh khắc bình yên hiếm hoi xa cách khoản vay công trình xây dựng và áp lực công việc. Chiều hôm đó họ đến công trường muộn, không tìm thấy. Họ đến cổng trường muộn và không tìm thấy Nhi ở đâu cả. Nỗi hoảng loạn bùng phát khi họ tưởng tượng ra nhiều điều tồi tệ nhất. Chạy quanh sân trống và tự trách mình lựa chọn về mọi lựa chọn vội vã, bất cần. Ngay khi nỗi sợ lên đến đỉnh điểm, James nhận được một cuộc gọi. Mẹ anh đã đón Nhi đi mua kẹo và mua nệm cho ngôi nhà mới. Cả gia đình vội vã đến cửa hàng nơi sự nhẹ nhõm biến thành nước mắt và những cái ôm và tiếng cười. Tại ngôi nhà đang xây dở của mình, Nhi đã thử chiếc đệm mới màu tím của mình, và sau cùng họ tưởng tượng về những căn phòng, về những bữa ăn và kỷ niệm trong tương lai, nhận ra tình yêu và sự an toàn quan trọng hơn nhiều so với những bức tường lát gạch nền và thời hạn 2, 3, 4.